Hello, ladies, gentlemen, non-binaries, and everybody else under the rainbow of our wonderful community. How are you doing? Today, we are back with more gameplay for Otome Jam 2022 after a hiatus that I wasn't able to continue my original plan. I've just kind of pushed it back to September, and here we are with sexy spicy September, where I'm going to be uploading or streaming Otome Jam 2022 games for the entire month of September. And today we have a Frost and Flowers. So these games were voted by my Patreon community, so shout out to all of them. And let's go on over. So of Frost and Flowers, I don't know if I need to change where my camera is, but we will cross that bridge when we come to it. So a little bit about A Frost and Flowers. In the early world of Gaia, the capability to use magic is determined by birth, creating a rift between magic and non-magic users. Yet, despite the rift, an organization stepped up with the purpose of making magic accessible to everyone. The Chrismalia Project. I am probably butchering that word. The story starts with Alto, a craftswoman who joined Zenthania's Knights to search for her missing childhood friend. Upon joining them, however, Alto stumbled upon a secret she should not have known, and now her life is on the line. So this is exciting. I always love fantasy, sci-fi stuff. Like, that's my shit. Let's go. Music's so pretty too. Hey, did you hear about the execution tomorrow? Yes, one of Zenthania's own knights. They kept the whole thing hush-hush, though. I've heard rumors that it has something to do with Chrismalia Shh! We're outside! Oh, right. But poor girl. I heard she's a freshly recruited knight, too. What could she have done to deserve this? The death sentence speaks for itself. Whatever she did, it put the whole kingdom at risk. It's just a shame that she has to die so young. Don't worry about it, dear. She must have deserved the punishment. Our kingdom knows what's best for us. I mean, do they? Do they always? Oh, you're cute. Okay, I like your design right off the bat. The execution. Could they be talking about that girl? Yes, I know. I've been involved enough. But that girl... Oh dear. The man sighed, rubbing his temples. I've just helped her escape from a dangerous situation. And now she's getting herself into another mess. His magenta eyes darted to the city hall, which is going to be an execution scene within a few hours. Should I just detach myself? Like what I've always done? But The man gazed at his bony hands, looking as though he had missed a familiar feeling associated with them whenever he clasped his hands. Perhaps there's still something I can do. He turned away, resolve in his eyes, and disappeared within the alley's shadows. Okay. Behind the steel bars of Zenthania's dark and cold prison, a young woman with charred clothes and bruised skin was pacing to and fro within her cell, angry footsteps echoing throughout the prison. Everyone thinks I'm crazy, but I saw what I saw. I am like hiding her. I might have to go to the other side of the screen. I love her design. Come here, me. We're going to go to this side. Nice. Watch, they'll start putting characters on both sides and then I'll be in trouble. But for now, I want you guys to see Alto. Oh, that's a really pretty design. A war is brewing. If they couldn't use me, they'll use someone else. I need to find a way out of here and tell the world about their plans. They're gonna execute me instead. What for? For telling the truth? I don't have much time. I need to find a way. I can't die here. The woman grabbed the steel bars and, in a fit of rage, tried to pry them open with her bare hands. Okay, unless your magic is like super strength, honey, I don't think that's gonna work. Ah! But of course, no matter how much strength she used, the steel bars did not budge. Her shouts, however, were enough to alert the guards and attract them to her cell. It's that crazy woman again. Just ignore her, she's gone mad. Besides, it's not like she's a magic user. Okay, we don't have magic, noted. She wouldn't be able to bend those bars even if she used her life's worth of willpower. They let out a set of jeering laughs. I don't know what she told the commander, but it must have been something extremely blasphemous for her to end up with capital punishment. What's her name again? She's that crazy ex-knight from the scouting division, right? Yeah, Altea Revendier. Ooh, Altea Revendier. Oh, we call her Alto. Okay. At the mention of her name, a young man stopped in his tracks on his way to the prison's exit. Altea? The stranger briefly glanced at the cell the young woman was in. He spotted a familiar face, one that he could never forget. But just as he was about to approach her, a guard called out to him. Hey you! Visiting time is over. The exit's this way. Right. Excuse me. It's really, I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of weird not to be in the shoes of the main female character. Unless that's not us, unless we're not Alto, which I feel like we are. So it is a little bit, I don't know, I feel like disassociated with her. As the man left, Alto noticed a small feather dangling on his right ear. That feather... Could it be? No, that's impossible. He'd never be here. Alto sighed, letting her back slump against the stone wall. You know that you're out of it when you start hallucinating. But who wouldn't? Today was the last day you had in Gaia. I haven't even found her yet. We love a rain scene. Zathania Kingdom City Hall was surrounded by armor-clad knights that gray morning, and all preparations for the young woman's execution had been ready since dawn. Alto had been kneeling on the ground since then too, and all the pain she initially felt had been numbed by the piercing cold. Despite the heavy storm, citizens had flocked around the city hall, ready to capture the monumental moment of the knights killing off one of their own. What a pitiful girl. She's so young. That traitor deserves it. Alto could hear each and every one of them talking, all their gossip, their curses, their sympathies. But now the rain had drowned out their voices, the only thing she could thank the rain for. After the crowd had settled, the knight's commander, a man who Alto once put her faith in, stepped up on the podium to signal her death. The execution of Altea Revendier shall now commence. The executioner busied himself by polishing his axe, ensuring he would end the girl's life in a single slash. Alto closed her eyes. I guess this is the end, huh? If I knew this was how it would turn out, maybe I should have just stayed back home and became a regular craftswoman. But I couldn't have possibly left you alone. Wait, is this are we gonna have a flashback? Is the visual novel a flashback? I don't get it. What did I do wrong? I did what I could for the knights, for you, and this is how I'm rewarded? Gods, if you're really governing Gaia, as written in the myths, then why are you letting this happen to me? The commander glared at her now with frigid, relentless eyes. Any last words, traitor? It's hard to believe that those words came from the same mouth that gave her words of encouragement when she was but a squire. The girl's cracked lips parted, but she was unable to form any words. All she could do was stare at the executioner's merciless eyes and hope she would at least die a quick and painless death. A teardrop mixed with raindrops slid down her cheek. I'm sorry, Alice. She closed her eyes, knowing that she had done her best and that it would be all over soon. When all of a sudden... Intruder! Intruder! Okay, we're not having a flashback. Ooh. A sudden bam and a flurry of explosions blasted in the city hall. Citizens gasped and screamed as debris showered from them from overhead. Alto opened her eyes just in time to see a hooded figure throwing a vial against the ground. It exploded and let out plumes of gray smoke, obscuring the entire city hall along with any light source in the vicinity. Panic-stricken shouts and confused screams ensued in the sight, but before Alto had a chance to react, she felt the ropes binding her wrists loosen. A figure emerged from the mist, extending their hand towards her. Quick, let's get out of here. Alto looked up, and the first feature she saw of her savior was... Oh, okay, we get to choose. His piercing magenta eyes, a feather dangling on his ear. I really liked the character design of the magenta eyes one. I'm doing that one. As if by instinct, Alto took his hand and was pulled back to her feet. The moment they touched, a strange wave of relief flooded her. She was sure she had never met this stranger before, so how was it possible that his hand felt so familiar? Follow me. He pulled her out of the execution site. Silver dust fumed at every corner, blocking Alto's vision, but the stranger's movements were fluid, as if he could see right through the mists of debris. Magic? Was what Alto thought as she let the stranger lead her away. Could this person be a magic user? The stranger dashed to an alleyway, turned a sharp corner, and opened an underground hatch. Get in. Wait, who are you, and why did you help me? As the mist slowly settled, Alto glimpsed strands of blonde hair peeking out from under his hood. Now's not the time. Go! Alto had no choice but to follow the stranger's demand. After all, he was her only source of hope for now. Where did they go? I don't know. Did we lose them? Damn it, we can't let her get away. Okay. A little different backdrop, but I'm okay with this. Character design is is that a cape, but it's like here? Like now I'm looking at the character. Come. After they had escaped the chaos in the city and ran far into the woods, the man beckoned the girl over to his tent. Alto was initially wary of his intentions, but it was a fact that he had saved her life. Drink this. What is it? It's a medicinal drink. It'll restore your energy. Alto accepted the drink and took a tentative sip from it. She grimaced. Bitter. The man chuckled, a sound that startled her. Pinch your nose and drink it in one go. It's more bearable that way. Alto listened to the man. In a few moments, she opened her eyes wide, suddenly refreshed. What herb is this? Did I just say herb? Herb. Did I really just pronounce the H in herb? Herb. Leave me alone. I am a dumbass apparently today. What herb is it? Oh my god. English, you're such a weird language, I'm not gonna lie. It's a type of weed, to be exact. It grows everywhere, but due to its taste, people disregard it as useless. Ah, I see. Wait, a weed? Relax. I wouldn't have dragged you out this far only to kill you. Thank you. My name's Alto. What's yours? Ooh, Keisha. I like that. Keisha. It's a pleasure to meet you. Keisha is a very calming person to be around. It's like being with her. Yo, are we gay? I'm cool with that if we are. Yes, I'm into, yeah, okay. I would be okay with that, yes. I'm in your debt. Keisha shook his head. There's no need. I insist. He chuckled at her eagerness. I mean, you saved my life. He paused, gazing at the tent entrance. There was a sense of contemplation from the man. Before she could question what was wrong, he looked back at her. Don't worry. I'm just glad you're all right. Alto wanted to press him for more information. With the tent flaps opened, she quickly peeked past him. There didn't seem to be much. A lump of fabric was positioned at one of the walls, and across the length of the tent were bundles of greens and flowers hanging along a string. Okay, he's got lots of medicinal stuff or plants. That makes sense why his tent is out in like this area with all the flowers and stuff. That makes sense. Are you a herbalist? She felt strange asking, almost guilty for looking into a private space. But her curiosity overrode her politeness, and Keisha seemed okay with her presence and question. In a way. Not fully. What do you do then? I am an alchemist. Alchemist? Can he use magic? They stood there in awkward silence before Keisha glanced around and then moved into the tent, turning to look back at her. Come in. As Alto walked past the threshold, he closed the flaps behind her. A light soon lit up the inside of the tent. The bundle of fabric had been a makeshift bed, and she now noticed a book next to it. Looking closely at the colorful assortment of hanging plants strung across the top of the tent, she felt slightly inspired. Even though she had seen some of the common greens and flowers in the wild, when gathered together with silent purpose, she appreciated their existence even more. Beautiful. I cannot get over her character design. That is, I love it. This would make a calm painting, especially with the warm lighting bouncing off and creating the stark shadows. She followed the light, turning around to try and memorize the scenery before her, and she locked eyes with Keisha. Suddenly embarrassed by her enthusiasm, she looked down, putting her arms behind her back. Sorry. I like painting. There's nothing to be sorry about. Painting is a learned skill. You must be very good. Alto looked up, wide-eyed. No, not at all. It's just something fun that I enjoy. He gave her a soft smile. Anyway, what do you do as an alchemist? I do what all alchemists do. I collect samples, I study their properties, and I document my findings. You must do a lot of traveling then, seen all over the world? The world is vast. I still have plenty to see. Still. She looked down at her hand, realizing she still held the vial Keisha had offered to her earlier with the drink. She held it up to him. Oh, Changing her mind, she pulled the vial back. Wait, let me clean it for you. Is there water nearby? Keisha nodded, placid. If you listen carefully, you can hear the stream just some distance away. It shouldn't be too difficult to find. Just be careful. They could still be looking for you. Wait, before you go. Here. Keisha handed her a simple sheathed knife that was attached to a waist belt. In case you need to defend yourself. Alto nodded, strapping it around her before leaving the tent. As told, she waited in silence as she focused to pick up the sounds of water. The faint but fast rippling of moving water caught her attention, and she walked in its direction. Okay. Oh, I really like this one. There's little details. I love the waterfall. It's small, but I like it. As Keisha had described, the stream was easy to spot. Also, this music is really, really calming. The ground that lined both sides was clear of debris and trees, and the rocks within the water gave the appearance of foaming when the continuous stream hit against the hard surfaces. Alto waded over, careful not to slip on the dirt sides that bordered the stream. I sound like I'm teaching my students how to pronounce things. God. Crouching, she held the vial in the water, meticulously lifting it up to dump out the liquid and putting it back in to rinse. After a few passes, she was satisfied and shook it, letting the excess droplets fly off. Not trusting her clothes to be clean enough for wiping, she found a nearby leaf to let the vial sit on to slowly dry. The gentle sounds of the flowing water relaxed Alto, and she decided to take a break next to the stream. How did she end up running from the law she once admired and had joined? She sighed, rubbing her temples. If I could go back. Alice, where are you? Alto's mind wandered as she stared out at the water. She lowered her hand, dipping it into the cool current, letting the water flow past her fingers. Near their homes was an active pond. The water was clear, water plants populated the bottom, and a small school of fish lived in it. Shaded by the surrounding trees, it was the obvious choice to spend time at. Even if Alto didn't plan on swimming on a particular day, she could pass the time gathering the sticks around and try her hand at molding the wood. During one peculiar warm season when they were kids, the sun high in the sky beamed heavily down, so hot that moisture from all nearby vegetation clouded the air. Sweat dripped down everyone's foreheads, and people tried their best to fan the blistering heat away. Sol, one of Alto's childhood friends, made the easy decision to drag Alto and Ellis into the pond to cool off. Take that! Alto shrieked. What was that for? Sol had run his arm across the surface of the water, forming a wave in Alto's direction, hitting her in the face. Sol laughed, eyes closed in delight. Got you! That was mean! It was just a joke! Come on! Sol rolled his eyes. It's not a big deal. We do this all the time. But that hurt! My mouth was open too! Ugh, gross. As she spit out the remaining water, Alto saw Sol reach out to her out of the corner of her eye. When the splashing from Ellis got close to them, however, Sol stopped. As she looked up, he turned the opposite direction and started swimming across the pond. Is the other person Sol? Is the person with the feather Sol? Okay. Wait! Come back here, you jerk! Are you okay? I heard the loud splash and your scream. Yeah, I'm okay. You know how Sol is sometimes. Alto puffed her cheeks as Ellis cleaned up the strands of hair away from her face. I know. Ellis smiled as she finished. Alto returned it. I'll just have to get him back. Wait, Alto! Ignoring the protest from Ellis behind her, she swiftly chased after Sol. In order to surprise him, Alto took a deep breath, diving underneath the surface. But before she got too close to him, she breached the water, popping up with a splash. Sol spun around to investigate the noise, but it was too late. Accompanied by a great burst of energy, Alto whipped her arms around, creating a wave larger than the one Sol had hit her with. What? Before Sol could protest, Alto could see him open his mouth, eyes widening in surprise. The water wave hit him, and he toppled over. Ha! That's what you get! She cheered to herself, and when Ellis finally caught up to her, she laughed. Ellis weakly shook her head, though her expression looked like she was fighting off a chuckle. As Ellis went to check on the resurfaced Sol sputtering out water, Alto leaned onto her back, letting her body float. The sun still shining brightly above, she closed her eyes, letting the pond drift her along. Alto found herself on her back as she pushed herself up. Will I need to travel across the lands to find you, Ellis? I need a new plan. The guards took everything I had on me before putting me in that cell. She paused, almost frantically. She reached around her waist. Relaxing when she felt the handle poking out of the leather sheath, she curled her hands around the wrapped grip and swiftly pulled it out. I almost forgot he gave me this knife. I could definitely make something for now. Getting up from her spot, she searched the surrounding brush for a sturdy stick to shape. Though she didn't have all of her tools, she could still carve a decent point at the end of a branch. Like a wand? With every possible stick she found, she tested the weight of it in her hand. Finally picking one, she sat back down at her spot next to the stream and worked on one end. After making it into a proper spike, she continued fashioning the rest of the wood, smoothing out the jags and bumps. Alto admired her creation after she saved the last strand of bark, standing back up to evaluate it. A few quick jabs and thrusts with the crafted weapon helped lift her spirits. And after checking on the vial, she decided to head back. With the clean vial stuffed in a coat pocket and the weapon in hand, she got up from her spot next to the stream and walked back to Keisha's tent through the forest that she came from. Lots of reading, thus we hydrate. Not wanting to surprise the man if he was in deep... Not wanting to surprise the man if he was deep in concentration, she made sure to take heavy steps as she neared the tent. It was quiet enough, but she could hear soft steps inside. Keisha? A few moments of silence passed before the rustle of tent fabric was pulled open in front of her. Come in. She handed over the vial after stepping in, and Keisha accepted it. Thanks. How are you feeling? Much better. He raised a curious brow at the sharp stick, but did not probe further. That's good to hear. Keisha had been busy while she was away, Alto noticed. There were fewer bundles of green herbs and dried flowers hanging on the string now, and filled vials were displayed in a row along the other side of the tent. The book that had been previously next to the makeshift bed was now spread open with dense writing. Is there someone you know or someplace nearby where you can hide for a bit? Her head lowered, looking away, her voice almost a whisper. No. I see. His pause made Alto anxious. Would he kick her out now that she wasn't in any immediate danger? She raised her head to read his face. Contemplation showed on his face. In an attempt to sway any doubts in his mind, she pouted. Whether or not her action worked, he seemed to understand. Do you have any plans? Alto nodded. I lost most of my things when I was jailed. I hope to visit the nearest town to gather supplies before I leave. I need to head into town as well, as you can imagine, for my studies. It shouldn't take too long of a journey to get there. If you would like, we could go together. Alto perked up. Oh, of course. Keisha looked around, focusing on the dried plants left. He grabbed 2 small satchels, handing one over to Alto. She peered inside, finding a roll of twine and small jars. What are these for? Gathering materials for the road ahead. Unless you would like to rest instead? No, I'll help. You'll have to let me know what you'll need. He tilted his head in acknowledgement and turned off the lantern. For a moment, she felt silly holding her crafted weapon and placed it down. But when she reached the entrance flap that Keisha held for her, she looked back, hesitating. Going back, she picked it up and returned to the front where Keisha stood. Just in case. Without a word, he continued, and Alto followed right behind. Just like the stream, the fields where Keisha led her to... Whoa! Sentence. Also, when I'm reading, it feels like I thought the clouds were moving at the top. That kind of threw me off for a second. They're not moving, but when I'm reading, it felt like it was. Just like the stream, the fields where Keisha led her to were nearby. Trees were sparse, but plenty of colorful vegetation and fruits thrived here. It felt uninhabited. Stalks of grass grew tall, bushes overgrown and shaggy, and weeds mixed with healthy plants. As promised, Keisha slowly pointed to the correct berries to pick, the right shrub to strip leaves and stems from, and the various reddish piles of soil to collect. He watched until she could correctly gather the materials and she didn't mistake the poisonous bulbs with the nearly identical ugly seeds, leaving her to her own foraging. Fortunately, most of the ingredients Keisha needed were within the same vicinity, and Alto didn't stray far from the man. While their pickings were strict and specific, Alto found the action of searching and gathering in nature to be fun. The earth was cool, and a slight breeze started to blow as they collected. Time passed, and the sun edged past the highest point in the sky. Alto had filled all the jars and vials with specimens, but still had plenty of twine to use to gather more herbs. Squatting down in front of bunches of freshly flowered mint, she heard loud rustling to her left. There had been small critters scattering within the terrain at the sight of her, and birds would occasionally fly overhead, announcing their presence with sweet chirps. But this sounded rough and wild. It sounded big. Finishing up by tying the mint together and putting it into her satchel, she stood up. Why would you, if you feel like something is nearby and it's big, why would you continue with what you're doing and not just like, take your stuff and just walk away immediately? Alto, we're gonna talk. Alto hoped to see Keisha, but all in her view was the fields and the forest that stretched in front of her. Keisha? She took tentative steps to where she last saw the man, repeating her call. Keisha, where are you? There was still no response, but the rustling seemed louder as she continued to wander towards the forest. Positioning her makeshift weapon so the pointed end stuck out in front of her, her senses gradually spiked. Taking each step with caution, she listened to the sounds, attempting to find the source. Keisha? Whatever was making the noise was now in front of her, but the tall grass hindered her view of what it was. She hoped Keisha was safe and away. Maneuvering the weapon so it could be held comfortably up with one hand, she moved the tall grass to the side with her other arm. Alto sucked in her breath. I was actually ready for a scare. While she finally found Keisha, who was past the tall grass in one of the clearings of the forest, what stood in between them immediately jumped her heart. Keisha! The man turned around from his position, but almost fell over. A male Vitar? Boar stood between Alto and Keisha. It was a big beast, standing up to Alto's waist. Like all Vitar boars, she could see 4 tusks protruding from its lower jaw, the 2 in the back much longer than the 2 in the front. And like all Vitar boars, the full-grown males were extremely territorial. Boars are extremely territorial, just in general, in case anybody knew that. You don't want to be around them. Nope. They don't know. They attack first, run later. Alto watched as it stomped its hooves into the ground, throwing its head berserk. It's going to charge. Keisha, use magic! But the man froze. The beast seemed focused on Keisha, huffing as it pawed the ground. Why isn't he doing anything? Keisha! The second calling shook him out of his stupor, and he quickly grabbed whatever was closest on the ground. Small stones flew at the creature and sprays of dirt littered the air in between the two. But the boar stayed, now angrier. Alto had to get closer and began to circle around the beast. The boar started to run. She pushed herself, barely reaching Keisha, who only began to scramble up to his feet, still attempting to scare the animal away, to swipe her weapon at the charging boar. It turned, rushing back into the tall grass. Alto could hear it change directions back to the 2 of them. She went into a defensive position, holding out her weapon straight in front of her. Though tension bound her stiff and she didn't understand why Keisha wasn't using magic, she had to protect him. He had saved her from execution. Gave her a knife, his knife, without hesitation. She would return the favor. The boar burst through the tall grass, but Alto made sure she was ready. Nice. Nice, I love an action screen. Good shit. It came at an angle, and her former night training kicked in. Yes! She stood her ground, pivoting on her back foot at the last moment so she faced the beast head on. And again, it spun to dodge the weapon point, veering back into the grasses. At the next pass, I'll mark it. The pounding of its hooves seemed desperate, wanting to hit its mark, but unsuccessful. Come out! On cue, it appeared out of the grass. Once more, Alto was ready. This time, when she pivoted to meet the boar, she took another step, thrusting the weapon out. The boar squealed, bucking back in an attempt to avoid the weapon. But Alto pushed, digging the weapon deeper into its flesh. It thrashed under the pain, a trickle of blood pouring out of the wound. Not wanting to kill the beast, Alto pulled out the weapon, but kept it steady in front of her. Finally, the boar left. The sound of its hooves faded until all Alto could hear was her deep breathing. Lowering her weapon, she turned around. Keisha stood, wide-eyed, a hand over his heart, and in the other a fistful of more rocks. Sweetie, what did you get a bigger rock? Did you get a bigger rock, or are these more pebbles, honey? We need to talk. His veil has fallen on the ground, now covered in dirt. Are you okay? He opened his mouth to say something, but opted to nod his head instead. They stared at each other, though thoughts swirled in Alto's mind. Can you use magic? No. Oh. That explained his behavior and inaction before, but the simple confirmation still surprised her. Yet, with this one word, she felt a little less lonely in Gaia. Okay. Again, we have a change in the background art, which I'm not mad at. Like, none of the background art has been bad. It's just like there's just a different style going on. Also, I really like the fact that, again, the boar fight, they didn't show a boar, which is totally fine, but instead put in these action like backgrounds, and that is chef's kiss, good stuff. Like, if you don't know, like, just little things instead of just having that quiet, like, you know, beautiful background, giving me something that's like you are in a fight. Yes. Yes, come in. Piero, how many lives did the explosion take? There were 37 of us, my lord, who did not make it. More than 50 of us are heavily injured. The healer! What is she doing? The healer is working hard to treat all of them, my lord. But there's only so much one person can do. Damn it. Damn that accursed Zithania kingdom. Sending us an explosive as a gift. Sir, this is just a suggestion, but why can't we just go on the offensive? With your magic and the Chrysmalia, we could... That is out of the question. The Chrysmalia is not ready yet. We would need to harvest the power of the Blood Moon. But we don't know when the next Blood Moon will come. I can wait. Even if it takes 1,000 years, I will see this project to the very end. The hooded man placed his hands on Piero's shoulder. But now that Subject 13 has escaped, I will need to rely on you, Piero. Only you can properly wield the final product. You're the only worthy weapon I have left. Yes, my lord. So I love stories that are like, yo, project whatever number got away, experiment number whatever got away. I don't know, maybe it's because I love Lilo and Stitch, you know. I like that. I like it, and it just gives a little bit more rather than just being like, you are the protagonist and you are a good person. I don't know. It's a trope I like. Alto stretched, rotating her shoulders in an attempt to ease the soreness. Man, my muscles ache from all the action yesterday. I must be getting out of shape. Just then, Keisha emerged from his tent. Good morning, Alto. I hope you slept well. Morning, Keisha. Sure did. Slept like a log. Noticing that Alto was busy massaging her shoulders, Keisha returned to his tent and emerged with a cylindrical container. Here, use this. It's a salve to soothe muscle pain. Alto took the salve, applying it to the areas where it ached. A cooling sensation immediately spread through her muscles, masking the pain she had felt earlier. Staring at the pale-skinned alchemist once more, Alto recalled the shocking revelation she learned the previous day. Namely that Keisha was not a magic user at all. Not all alchemists are magic users, I suppose. But still, it's quite a shock that Keisha was unable to use magic. To think that he rescued me from all those nights without having magic. I wonder how he pulled it off. Smoke bombs! Ooh, okay. Everything he's done is pants-based? Pants-based! Plant-based! I can't talk. I can never talk when I need to record a video. This is annoying. But the fact that he's knowledgeable about so many things is amazing in itself. Guess it shows that you don't need fancy magic to accomplish things in life. Thanks, Keisha. Why are you thanking me? I should be the one thanking and apologizing to you. You were just in the process of recovering, but I've exposed you to mortal danger again. Again? Furthermore, I was so helpless. I couldn't even protect myself, and I had to rely on you. He breathed a long sigh, looking down at his hands in disappointment. If only I wasn't in this body. What? What? Keisha. I wonder if he has a physical condition or a certain illness. I'd like to ask him about it, but I don't want to come across as rude. Should I ask him about it? Ask him about his condition, change the topic. Is it a I don't know. There's magic and shit involved with this world. I'm like, are you someone else? But is that rude? I mean, yeah, it's probably rude. But is it rude in the sense that he won't like me if I ask, or is it just rude in real life society? I have nothing to fear but fear itself. I want to ask him. I'm gonna ask him about his condition. Keisha, by any chance, do you have a medical condition? Looking at his body, he is very thin and pale. It's not an understatement to say that he might be malnourished. Keisha looked taken aback by the question. No, nothing of the sort. I just think that I should work out more. It's embarrassing to be unable to protect myself. As a traveling alchemist, I should have learned some self-defense. Well, with regards to working out, I can totally help you with that. Alto flexed her muscles, evidently taking pride in her years of knighthood training. I'll get you in shape in no time at all. The girl striked a pose, but as if on cue, her stomach began to rumble loudly. I don't know why, but I imagine her pose being the flex pose that I do on stream. Way to go, stomach. Who told you it was the right time for you to growl like that? Keisha let out a soft laugh. I suppose training could wait till later. Come, I'll cook you some breakfast. We love a man who can cook in this house, though. And after breakfast, I'd like to give you a little present. A present? You really don't have to. I insist. It's the least I can do to thank you for saving my life. A present, huh? I wonder what it could be. Alto was surprised with the meal Keisha had made. With how little he carried around, he seemed to have a knack at surviving. He had some fried eggs and prepared some broth, adding special spices to concoct a vegetable soup with the herbs and greens he also collected. Although it was a simple meal, Keisha had somehow magically made it better than any food Alto had tasted before. Or perhaps it was just because she hadn't eaten anything proper for days. About the present. Here you go. Keisha handed Alto a rectangular object covered in white cloth. Alto gave it a jiggle, now certain that there was more than one object inside. Go on, open it. Alto carefully unfolded the cloth, and her eyes widened in delightful surprise the moment she saw its contents. This is... How did you... Inside the cloth was a blank canvas supported by wooden beams. Though the woodwork was not by any means professional, they held the canvas in place firmly. Besides the canvas, there was an array of colored pigments decorating the sides of a wooden palette. I'm so overcome with emotion that it's a painting kit that I can't read anymore. Accompanied by a delicate brush. Oh my god, my heart. I'm not even an artist in my heart. Oh, you were the right choice, baby. Red, green, yellow, sienna. They're all here. You even have a blue pigment. That's crazy difficult to make. The girl whipped her head to Keisha. When did you have time to make all these? Alto stopped mid-sentence. She recalled how they have been collecting different herbs, flowers, and berries the other day. Keisha didn't tell her what they were for, and Alto did not question the alchemist's intentions. But to think that Keisha had always had her interest in mind, and even went through danger for the sake of making the pigments. Alto felt her heart clench and eyes water. Sentimentality. Yes, that's the way to pronounce that, right? Almost getting the better of her. Is it not to your liking? I recalled you enjoyed painting, so I thought you'd feel better if you do something you love. Alto wiped the tears brimming in her eyes. No, 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 this is... She stifled a sob and tried to compose herself, but to no avail. I'm sorry. I'm just so happy I can't put it into words. Keisha gently placed his hand on Alto's head. There's no need to say anything. I'm just happy you like it. Now, I'm sure there are a lot of things to paint here. Feel free to explore the area, but don't stray off too far. I don't want you encountering another wild beast. Of course. I'll join you after I'm done with one last experiment. Okay. Alto stared at the blank canvas in front of her. It had been a while since she had done any craft work. After all, her days were filled with training and preparation for her knighthood instead of focusing on her crafts. There was once a time when she thought of becoming a craftswoman for the rest of her life. Crafting, painting, and woodworking were all her passions. I love the fact that she's into multiple things, because I feel like when people are like, I have a hobby or I'm a painter or whatever, people are like, ah, you only paint, and maybe you have different painting methods or painting styles, and it's like, no, sometimes artistic people have lots of hobbies. For example, I stream and gaming, but I also like crocheting and I also like writing. Like being creative takes so many different forms, and I don't think people realize that you can be an artistic, creative person, but still have multiple interests in an artistic space. So crafting, painting, woodworking, it's all creating something just through different methods, but much different. I like this. Oh, I like this a lot. But ever since Ellis went missing, Alto, along with Soul, had made a vow to find her no matter what. Okay. Alto stopped her crafts then and did everything she could do to find her friend. That was when she decided to join the Knights' ranks. Being part of the scouting division gave her the rights to issue her own searches. But now here she was, in a field of flowers, holding a brush with a canvas in front of her. What's wrong? Is the paint not to your liking? I don't know much about art, but I tried to make pigments out of various dried flowers and minerals. Although I'm uncertain about its quality with regard to painting, I can assure you that it's safe to use. Alto snapped out of her trance and shook her head. No, that's not what I mean, thank you so much. I just didn't expect you to go this far, you know? You saved my life, and now you make these pigments especially for me? I can't thank you enough. Keisha threw her a dubious glance. It's just that it's been a while since I last painted. I fear I'll put your paint to waste. Don't worry about it. The process is quite simple, and I can always make more. Keisha stood up from the grass patch and made his way to the flower meadow. Perhaps staring at you while you paint will only make you nervous. I'll conduct some research on the flowers blooming around here instead. He started bending down and examining the flowers, muttering to himself while making mental notes. Alto sighed. It's not that I'm worried about not being able to paint, to be honest. I just feel like I'm not supposed to be painting now. Like, Ellis is still out there, missing. And here I am, painting without a care in the world. Alto shook her head. No, I can't keep having these thoughts. Keisha's right. I shouldn't be worrying too much. Ellis is a healer, and knowing of her invaluableness, no one would ever harm her. She must be alive. somewhere. Alto finally decided to pick up the brush and mix her first colors. These pigments mix quite well in water. Keisha can make a living by selling these as high-quality art dyes. Now, what to draw? Alto looked up from the blank canvas and gazed at the field of flowers that stretched endlessly in front of her. And there, in the middle of all the colorful meadow, was the pale-skinned alchemist, preoccupied in his train of thoughts. His sparkling gold-hued hair was blowing in the wind at the same pace as the flowing flowers, his translucent shawl rippling in it too, like water. At that moment, all of Alto's worries suddenly disappeared, and her brush started painting by itself, as if taken over by the goddess of inspiration. If only time stood still like this forever. I would love to stay here, just like this, in this field of flowers, just a bit longer. The lone alchemist stood on the open field with a leather book in his hand and ran his free hand across the dancing blades of grass. He had opened his veil, letting the wind caress his sun-reflected hair, and gazed at the rolling blue sky, the snow-white clouds, and the multicolored flowers. His magenta eyes glistened, beaming as if he had never seen such a sight before. So this is what it's like to be free. Keisha took in the fresh air, all the morning dews, the earthy soil, the wind's fragrance. What's that? These are called zinnias? You're right, they don't have a fragrance, but they are beautiful all the same. Endurance in the times of hardship. Well, I happen to know someone who's the living embodiment of that message. It couldn't be that that's Ellis, like, because Ellis uses magic, right? I don't know, it just seemed... it just seemed like I don't know. If we're still going off the idea that Soul is the person with the feather in their ear. Feather dangling from their ear. I don't know! Oh, I'm always so wrong with like my predictions as well. I'm always wrong. He chuckled softly, thinking about the girl who he had rescued, and who in turn rescued him right after. Finally taking his eyes off from the flowers, his eyes instinctively wandered to the distant glacial mountains, the Belhim mountain range. It was the largest mountain range in the whole of Gaia, serving as a natural barrier for the kingdom of Lestir at the far west, where dangerous snowstorms occurred on a regular basis. And to the north of the mountain range lay the abandoned Chalia. Keisha shook his head, trying not to recall the tragedy that befell the poor tribe. He instinctively touched the leather book he always kept under his cloak. Don't worry, we'll make it in time. I know I shouldn't be affiliating myself with her any longer, but... she's whoever I wanted to be. I want her freedom. Okay, I take back my thing. Never mind. My prediction, wrong. 3 sentences later. My bad. Just ignore me. Ignore me in the corner. I'm not even here. But I can't lose sight of my goal. Yes, Lilith, soon. All of this will have to end soon. I kind of want to see the ending of this painting, so I'm going to continue on because I want to see the ending of this painting. Alto placed her brush down and stretched, feeling quite stiff from sitting too long. Looking at the fields, she noticed that Keisha was still examining the plants. I know the flowers are pretty and all, but he seems a bit too intrigued with the flowers. Let's sneak up on him and give him a scare. Oh, but first... Alto gathered a few flowers and twigs, twisting them around each other, letting her deft fingers handle the rest. Keisha! The alchemist turned around, only to feel something ticklish land on his head. He lifted the item up and realized it was a wreath made out of flowers. I thought we were going to be mean. I thought we were going to be so mean. I didn't realize it was going to be a cute scare. What is this? It's a flower crown. A flower crown? As the name suggests, it's a crown made out of flowers. I would have made you a crown of silver or gold if I had the materials with me, but I think flowers suit you better. Keisha examined the flower crown carefully. It was meticulously made, and it was clear that only a skilled craftsman with deft fingers could pull off such neatness. He put on the crown and smiled. Thank you. Alto had rarely seen the alchemist smile so genuinely, and honestly, it was blinding. Regardless, she stared agape. It's not agape, it's a gape. At the scenery before her for a while, and recomposed herself when Keisha caught her staring. Alto, do you know what these flowers are called? Alto could only imagine a half-baked laugh. She was never the type to study such a girly subject. Leave it to Ellis to name every single flower in existence. I'm not well versed about flowers, sorry. Keisha bent down and picked one of the colorful flowers. This one was a bright pink. These are called zinnia flowers. Zinnia flowers. There is a myth that zinnias come from a distant land, a world much unlike ours, a world ungoverned by magic. Wow, there's such a world? A world other than ours? Keisha shrugged. Who knows? It's just a myth. Aww! Keisha leaned closer to Alto, slowly reaching out his hand to touch her hazel hair. We have a hat. Did I just totally not notice the hat and like the little character? I'm blind. I'm so stupid. He tucked her hair behind her ear and gently clipped the flower between them. Oh. You're just like the zinnias, Alto. Sometimes I feel like you're too far from my reach. Too otherworldly. Keisha? If I decide to let you go, I know I'll never see you again. But it's inevitable. He knew he should be pulling back now, especially after he decided he would not affiliate himself with her anymore. But the moment had gotten the better of him. Perhaps it was Zinnia's magic at work. Alto could only stare blankly at the alchemist as she tried to decipher his strange words. His hand was still in her hair, and he had an unusual expression on his face. An expression she had never seen him wear. Alto knew he was smiling, yet his smile contained traces of melancholy, as if looking at her had stirred some of his most painfully happy memories. Keisha? As if being snapped out of his trance, Keisha suddenly dropped his hand and turned away. Alto didn't say it, but she somehow enjoyed the feel of his warm fingers on her head and was disappointed his hands left so quickly. Keisha, if there's anything you need to let out, I'm always here to listen. The alchemist was silent for a while, as if thinking really hard, but in the end, he only replied with a smile. That flower, it suits you. Oh my god. And with that sentence, Keisha disappeared into the tent while Alto stood frozen on the meadows, mouth agape. I'm sorry, I read it as it comes on the screen and I don't say it out loud, so I thought he was just gonna be like, poof, disappeared, and I got really scared, so I just... Okay, go into the tent, that's fine. Did Keisha just say... She touched the flower in her hair and felt her face getting warmer. No one's ever told me that flowers suit me before. Those are reserved for dainty and pretty girls, like Ellis. Alto shook her head. Come now, Alto. Keisha was just being nice, and knowing him, he's probably just complimenting the flower. Plus, he doesn't seem like his usual self today. I wonder what he was thinking when he picked this flower and when he said all those words to me. Alto picked the flower from her hair. Zinnias, huh? I think it's been an hour. I think we should leave it on that really cute moment. I love, look at these multiple pages, yes. I don't want anything bad to happen. We're gonna leave on the really cute moment. I saved it, it's fine. Okay. And that was part 1 of Frost and Flowers. Okay, so the person with the purple hair has to be Ellis, right? I'm really interested. I need to know more about the magic in the world, and I just have to play the game to learn more. But, oh wait, oh my god, I'm a dumbass. Just out of curiosity, of Frost and Flowers? Did I just get it? Is that it? Is this Frost and this Flowers? Like, is that what we're going with? I'm okay with that, to be honest. I'm fine with that. That was a really good start. I will say, I think the writing is a lot stronger with character conversation and the sweet romantic moments. I think the writing is just another level. Like, it was done really well. It was done very naturally, I think is the word I'm looking for. So I'm looking forward, at least, like, the romantic moments I know will be good. So yes, thank you. The music was awesome the entire time. The music really added to it. I'm a little confused about the changing art style, but again, there was a short time to finish an entire game, so maybe they had to switch artists, maybe something happened. Who knows? But I'm here for the game. It looks good. I like it. And if you guys liked it, if you guys liked me playing it, make sure that you like the video, because I will be doing a new game every day in September. And then after that, I will come back to some of these games and finish them, especially if you liked them. So if you like this game, leave a like, leave a comment saying you want me to do more. You want me to stream it, you want me to make another video. Let me know so I can make content you like. Game information, my Twitch channel, my streaming channel, and all my other links are gonna be down in the description box below, so please check those out if you have time. And guys, with that, I hope you have a great day, night, wherever you are in the world, and I will see you sometime soon. I'll see you tomorrow in some either streaming or video, so bye guys.